Finances can play a very critical role in our overall well-being. When we're stressed out about money, it can impact everything from our sleep to our mindset and our relationships. Today, I'll be speaking to a financial planner that will help us understand how we can plan our finances and how effective financial planning can alleviate anxiety and stress in our lives. Remember, financial planning isn't about money. It's about creating financial security and creating peace of mind. Hi, I'm Dr. Nafisa Sikandri, a licensed clinical psychologist specializing in anxiety-based disorders. I created the Mental Health Break podcast to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you prioritize your mental health. Mental illness can cost you time and money. Ignoring your symptoms will only make the problems worse. Taking time out of your busy day to dedicate to improving your mental health can lead to long-term health and wellness. In this podcast, you'll learn tips, tricks, and proven strategies to help you regain control of your life, all while prioritizing your mental health. If you want to improve your life, regain control of your mental health, and feel empowered, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Today's episode is proudly brought to you by the second annual Mental Health Reset Conference happening on Saturday, January 11th, 2025 in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. Join us for an inspirational and fun-filled day where you'll learn how to improve your mental and physical health from a holistic and integrative perspective. Meet wonderful, like-minded individuals and leave feeling empowered and confident about your health and wellness goals for 2025. Space is limited, so register now at drsikandri.com/MHRattend. Let me briefly introduce our guest before I bring her on. Julie Murphy is a Chicago-based certified financial planner and founder and CEO of JMC Wealth Management, Inc. Julie received her BS in finance from the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana and her MBA from the University of Notre Dame. With 25 plus years of the financial service industry, Julie and her team have successfully served thousands of clients throughout the U.S. and abroad. Julie is adept at all the critically important financial and life planning aspects. Unlike other CFPs, Julie's approach is unique. She works with her clients to uncover their relationship to their assets. Her time-tested program, PACT, P for picturing yourself, A for accepting reality and awakening, C for choosing to change, and T for taking action, has transformed countless clients' lives. Well, hi, Julie. Thank you for joining me on the Mental Health Break podcast today.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I know that finances is not necessarily the first thing that people think about when they think about mental health, but there's definitely a connection. I always tell my patients that one of the top reasons for divorce is financial insecurity, right? Or financial issues. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are, and what got you interested in specializing in finances?
Yeah, certainly. Well, it goes a way back. I have 11 brothers and sisters, and I used to deliver the Chicago Sun-Times and Tribune before school, and I used to take people's newspapers and I would read the business section because I was so interested in finance. I didn't grow up with any money, but then I learned I went to undergrad at the University of Illinois, and I started my own financial planning business when I was 22 and decided to take my finance degree and put it to work. And because we have so much opportunity in this country to be able to do it, but what we don't realize is that all of our money patterns come from our subconscious mind. And then it led me to wound up getting my graduate degree at the University of Notre Dame, and then went on my publishing journey. So my first book was called The Emotion Behind Money, which certainly that has a lot to do with our mental health. And so it's been very fascinating to see how my industry has really butted up against that over the years, because my industry, being strong left-brainers, are like, wow, this is all about the numbers and efficiencies. And I'm going, yeah, but there's the human heart, which is the other component there, and all of our wiring and our subconscious mind. And we have to create this coherence between our heart and our heads, or else we wind up with a lot of anxiety or depression around our financial situations. And we don't realize how much that really plays a part in all of our lives.
That's so true. I just recently did a podcast interview all about mindset, and we talked about how your mindset can impact your career choices, your finances, your relationships, your mental and physical health in general.
For
And so
sure.
I like that you connect that, because a lot of people like to only think it's about the numbers. It's about how hard I work. It's about how much I make. It's more than that, right?
Oh, it's way more than that. Like, we have to understand, there's an organization called heartmath.org, and they have actually done the research that the strongest magnet on the earth is the human heart. And the problem is so many of the things that we do to create cash flow for us has nothing to do with our heart. It has to do with what we have to provide and a good job and a good salary. But what we don't realize is that we actually create disease in our bodies when we aren't aligning our hearts with our paychecks. And a lot of people go like, well, how do I do that? Because many of us are pigeonholed into lifestyles. And that's the problem, because we're trying to clean up our financial past, which are all of our debts, while we're trying to also live in the present moment. And then think about tomorrow and how do I retire or send my kids to school or all this other stuff. And it's like, wow, we are really being squeezed from cleaning up our financial past, living in the present moment, and planning for the future all at the same time. And it's a tough one.
Yeah, a lot of people are just on that rat race. They're not really feeling aligned. It's like a survival mode, right? Like, I just
for
have
sure.
to put food on the table, take care of my family. I don't have time to be aligned.
Right.
Let's talk
They have to
about
get off the treadmill.
Right. Well, talk about that survival mindset, because a lot of people they feel like it's a luxury, but talk about how having good financial planning can actually ease a lot of anxiety and stress, making them more efficient and more productive, and ultimately probably creating more financial security in their lives.
Right. Well, I mean, our survival instincts just kick in. Again, before every single one of us is 7 years old, our financial patterns start to hardwire into our subconscious mind and our amygdalas. And so the way that we respond to the external world on anything, but particularly also our finances, is that we actually respond because of our experiences before age 7, 97% of the time. And that's what we don't realize. So consciously, we may not want to actually create those patterns, but we do. And why do we do it? Because we're running on autopilot, because our brain has two operating systems, our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. And it's the subconscious mind that's really pushing the engine 97% of the time. So it's so important that when you start to see, like, whether you had a lack there of money growing up, or debt structures, or there was no money talk in your house growing up, this is all scarcity mindset. And it all has to do with how we emotionally process. Like, do we feel like we're worthy of the money? Do we feel like we're enough, that we are deserving? Are you open to receiving? If you have anxiety around money and your nervous system is hijacked and you're like closed up, guess what? Your pineal gland in the middle of your brain is your lighthouse. And if your nervous system is hijacked and with anxiety or depression around money, which creates scarcity, your light has been dimmed, because your nervous system is actually your regulator as to what you're manifesting and attracting. And we don't realize that we really, truly are the creators of our lives, and our emotions have everything to do with it. So if you're frustrated, if you're angry, if you're sad, those are all low vibrating emotions, because everything works on frequency and energy. But if you love your job and you are happy and you're joyful, guess what? You're going to get the pay raises. You're going to get the opportunities and the new jobs functions. You're going to get bonuses, because your vibration is higher and you're going to attract more to you. And that scarcity piece, misery loves company. So we have to be careful as to, like, what are the company we keeping? What are the emotions that we have? What are our limiting beliefs or our beliefs about money? And what are the words that come out of your mouth about your money? These are all components that actually create your financial reality.
People don't realize how much their mindset and the self-talk and the negative perceptions they have impact them. And so for people that might think this is all too woo-woo, can you break it down? Like, I never understood how people can say, well, I always had like a ceiling of I'm only worthy of $100,000, that as soon as I would start making a little bit more than that, I'd sabotage myself so I can come back to what's comfortable for me.
For
so
sure.
Can you explain how, like, a lot of people are like, of course I would want more money in my life, but how do we sabotage ourselves, and how does our mindset come into effect and stopping us from getting what we want, even though that's what we want, but we sabotage ourselves.
Right. So I want us to think about it in two different ways. There is abundance. You can have income affluence. So you've gotten the job, you've got cash flow and money's rolling in the door. But there's a second component, which is asset affluence or abundance, because there's the income side and then there's the asset side. So many of us, particularly in the United States, have figured out how to be income affluent, but we haven't figured out how to be asset affluent because we're living these lifestyles. And as our pay raises go up, we get the better car, the better house, the everything. So what you're doing is you're creating a lifestyle, which is actually creating your own financial prison for yourself is what you're doing, because you're not creating any space or insulation to start to learn how to actually hold money in abundance. And what I mean by that is the fact that think of a lottery winner, let's just say they win a $5 million. So they win $5 million. The statistics are off the charts in the high 90s that within 5 years, all of that lottery money is gone. Why? Because they don't know how to hold money in abundance. They don't know how to be asset affluent. Think of it like building a muscle in the gym. Like you can't go in and go to bench press 200 pounds if you've not been bench pressing at all. You won't be able to even push it up. The same thing happens with our muscle memory when it comes to holding money in abundance. So if you're hitting that ceiling, what it is you actually need to create energetic space and be opening to receive. And so some of the assignments that I'll give some of my clients is like, okay, I want you to take a $100 bill and I want you to put that $100 bill in your wallet, and under no circumstance do I want you to spend it. People will look at me and they will say, what does this have anything? I just want you to tell me how to manage my retirement money better. I'm going, okay, but what you keep doing is you keep building up your retirement money, and then you take a 401k loan to pay off your spending because you have a spending problem and you get spending hangovers. And what will happen by sticking that $100 bill actually in your wallet and don't spend it is Benjamin Franklin, who's on the $100 bill, will start talking to you. Because what you're up against is your emotions that are actually stuffed inside of your physical body. You're triggering those emotions of, I don't feel enough. I don't feel like I'm worthy of more money, whatever, or I don't feel loved, because that's how we're processing emotionally. And it's from that trauma or rejection that actually happened before you were age 7, that those emotions are trying to come up and out. And you need to create that energetic space so that you are open to receiving more and then being willing to be able to hold more in abundance. I hope that makes sense.
It does. But I think for people that are like, it is a consumer economy right now, right? Like it's a lot of people just wanting to shop, and there's so much in our face that tempts us.
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification. And a lot of people have a very difficult time not giving into that temptation. So that $100 bill that's burning a hole in their wallet, like they have to spend it on something. And it could be going back to, like you said, their childhood programming. It could be based on what they heard growing up. An example for me is when I was a child, I was in Afghanistan, and we would save our money in a bank every time we would get any birthday money, anything we would put in a bank. And I remember distinctly the day that I heard that the bank was bombed and the money was robbed. And that to me was like, what's the point of saving?
Right.
And
it hardwires into your brain.
Right.
Right.
I'm not putting my money in a bank because it could get robbed.
It's a belief system. Mm-hmm.
For years until it clicked for me that as soon as I had money, I had to spend it. It was gone. And I didn't make the connection until I remember, though, distinctly after that happened, whatever money I had in my possession, I went and bought cookies and candies with it just to get rid of it. Like I had to spend it. So
right. Or else it's going to be gone.
Right. I mean, it was very uncertain because there's bombings going on. It was a war and all that stuff. That aside, that programming for me was money is not meant to be held on to. Just spend it as fast as you get it. But for some families, it could be money's the root of all evil, or only bad people are wealthy, and only.
Or I don't know when I'm going to get some more, so I better do it now. Right. Well, and so what I always say, I have an online course that the first step I walk people through is about the fact that I need you to find your compelling reason for change. It's because that compelling reason for change is why you will change those limiting belief patterns that hardwired into you. And so, for example, like what do you want more than instant gratification? And people will always say, I'll say, where do you want to be 3 to 5 years from now? And they'll say, financially. And I go, I don't care whether it's financially or not. They never talk about the money first, ever. It's always about, this is what I want for my family. This is what I want for my career. This is how I want to travel, whatever. And it has nothing to do with the money, but it's the money that's actually holding them up from doing those other things with their family or their careers or some. So we have to understand that debt has a lot to do with this, because we've created lifestyles based on debt. So you are selling your future by going into debt for a car, student loans, houses. You are not able to live in the present moment because you are always paying for your financial past choices. And so then you add on top of that these limiting belief patterns that we have. And it's like, how do you get out of these cyclical cycles? And the only thing that I've found after 25 plus years of doing this is that you have to find something that you want more than that. Yeah. Whether it's, building a new dream, it's like, what do you dream of? And I don't care what age or wherever you're at, it's about dreaming the new dream. And that's your compelling reason to change, because you want that more than the instant gratification of whatever that spending is going to do for you. And creating a system that actually doesn't hijack your nervous system, because when you hijack your nervous system, so one of the things, for an example, when I run people through my courses or my clients one-on-one, what I do is I say, okay, I want you to take that pay raise. Don't worry about the money you have coming in today. This is just the new money that you get. So with that new money you get, say it's a pay raise and you get $300 more per month. I always tell people, like, okay, take half of it and allocate it to your past, present, and your future. They're like, what? I go, increase your payments by 50. The other half you go live on. I'm only talking half. This is only the new money that you get. Bonuses, tax returns, raises, inheritances, paying off a debt. Like, for example, if you pay off your car, you're making that car payment, it's $500 a month. You're going to buy another car. So if you want to interrupt your patterning, open up an online savings account where you can name your financial intention and call it your new car fund. And under no circumstances, spend that money, but have that $500 a month now from playing defense and paying a bank. Now I want you to go play offense and save it yourself. And I'll tell you, you will get challenged to spend that money. It's going to be like itchy, scratchy inside of you. And really you just have to sit through that uncomfortable feelings of having money in abundance, because that's the only way to the other side, is to feel those feelings. And that's the only thing that gets you past the other side.
Yeah. How hard is that for people to change? Because it seems like for some people, that's very challenging to go from spending everything they have to actually having a different way of allocating and investing in assets instead of liabilities, right? I mean, there are people that are spending, like people say, I don't have money for therapy, but all their money goes to expensive haircuts or expensive purses or expensive clothes. It's like, it's about what you prioritize. It's about what you choose. You value. It's what you choose. So what have you found as far as how difficult it is for people to change? I'm assuming this isn't easy.
Yeah. So that's why exactly I don't tell them. So most financial planners will say, so for you to retire, I need you to give me $1,000 a month or you're not retiring. And people are like, go jump in the lake. No one's going to do that. I don't tell people that at all. What I tell people is okay, so we know you get a pay raise every March. So in March, we're going to take a portion of that pay raise and start your plan. Because going after what they don't have yet, that then is more digestible to people. You're not triggering their not enough button or worthy button by saying, we're just going to wait for the tax returns. We're going to wait for the bonuses. We're going to wait for your pay raise. And when we do it that way, then people are way more open and way more willing to start the next step. And it could even be that you reduced some expenses. Like I said, you don't have a car payment anymore, or maybe you decide to change your cable bill and you're saving $30 a month. Okay, whatever it is, it's about being very intentional with that open cash flow that comes to you. And you decide to fund the life that you want to create versus the life that you already have. Because most people desire to be a little bit different because they feel like they've made a lot of financial mistakes. And so it's like, don't beat yourself up over it. Let's just be proactive and do something about it. And people don't have a problem with that when they're building it towards something that they really actually desire.
So does it come down to the why? Like, why am I doing this? Because if I'm
Yep.
thinking the world's going to end tomorrow, I don't care about my retirement.
Right.
But
Exactly.
yeah.
Right. So it's whatever your belief system is, because you are the creator of your life. No one's created for you. You've created every ounce of it. And when you start to realize how powerful you are and that you've created every ounce of it, like people will say to me going, well, you just don't understand because you have a bunch of money. I'm like, listen, I grew up on the other side of the tracks on food stamps. I created every ounce of what I've created, and you can too. Like, there are bumps in the road, but it's about how you respond to those bumps. It's about what you do about it. It's like, are you being reactive, or are you having enough emotional space that you can observe it and then make a different conscious choice? And if you're very reactive, I find those are the people who, when you're super reactive, then that is a huge sign that you're in your trauma patterns.
Does it come down to externally blaming the government, the economy, the circumstances versus an internal belief that I can do this? Because there are people that are living on $34,000 a year and they've completely erased all their debt. And then there are people that have millions of dollars and they
Have
have
millions
no
of debt.
desire on eliminating their debt. What'd you say?
Right. And they have millions of dollars in debt.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a belief system. So again, you are the creator of your reality. And when you are coming from a place of being financially disempowered, you're blaming others. It's your employer's fault. It's how your parents handled you. It's how, the economy, the president, the whatever. Like, if you're pointing the finger at something else outside of yourself, then it's likely you, because it's not about anyone else but you. And you have to choose to decide to come from a place of financial empowerment. So you insulate yourself from any of the crap that's happening out in the world, so where it doesn't touch you, because you've created your own financial insulation. And people just have a problem with what's going on in the world because they haven't insulated themselves enough.
You mentioned something about trauma. There's definitely money-related trauma in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about what kind of trauma can affect us financially and what people can do in handling that trauma to empower themselves when it comes to finances?
Well, I think they really just need to take a look at, if you understand where that trauma has come from, you've probably also attracted people in your life that also reinforce that trauma. So for an example, I had a client who had a father who was a narcissist, and then she kept getting these bosses that would dangle a carrot enough. She was reliving her relationship with her dad over and over again, because she kept working for narcissists, because that's what she was familiar with. She's a people pleaser and a fix-it. And so she was always people pleasing and fixing it, but she was never always getting to the C-suite and be the chief marketing officer. She could never get up there because they'd always dangle the carrot. She'd work really hard and then be like, oh, sorry, we're just not going to do this. And after like the fourth employer, and she was making decent money. Like, she was making, $250,000 a year, college educated with undergrad and graduate. But this is where we see where our trauma patterns are interrupting our careers, because I was like, you know what? This is about you standing up to the narcissist, which is you standing up to your dad, because that's what it all represents, because she had never stood up to her dad. And what was interesting is that as she went through that healing process, she actually then started to thrive, and her income is way higher. She decided to start her own business. She's like, I'm just done. But that's taking a risk, right? But she didn't have to be underneath anyone else's tutelage to get that all done. So when we start to realize that we are the creators of our lives and going, oh, what is my patterning? And then you recognize that patterning, then you make steps to actually curve that, but you're going to be facing the stuff that you've avoided facing your entire life. And so that's what the process actually goes through. But I tell you, there's a lot of people that are waiting and willing to go, okay, I'm just done. Let me get to this next right step.
Yeah, and a lot of people, if their belief system is that money is the way that I'm going to be happy, or my relationships are going to improve, and just getting a new car or whatever, having enough in my bank account, my life is going to get better. that's not the truth, because there are a lot of people that have money that are miserable, right?
Yeah.
And it's having money.
To that point, I categorize in my book, Awaken Your Wealth. I talk about that people are either poor, debtors, dreamers, accumulators, or rich but empty. Because anyone who's poor, debtor, dreamer, or an accumulator, they all think that once they hit this place financially, then it's going to be great. And then they get there and they're rich but empty because they didn't do the things that actually create sustainable happiness. They were looking for something outside of themselves, like the money to create their happiness. And then once they get those multi-millions and they can retire, they're sitting there going, I'm not happy. And it's because they didn't align with themselves. Because what many of us do is we make these career choices and lifestyle choices that pull us off of our soul's path. And the more you're not in alignment with yourself, the bigger the midlife crisis you call in, the bigger you feel empty at the end of the day. And we have to be mindful of that as we age, because that's actually what then creates disease in our bodies, because we're at disease with ourselves, because we've not lived in alignment with how we really feel and what we really are nourished by in this world. And so I'm always asking people like, do you love your job? And I don't have many people that say yes to that question. And I'm like going, so why do you do it if you don't love it? Well, I liked it at one time, but then they stay there because they get trapped in the stock, that the company dangles, or the bonuses, or they handcuff them into their compensation plans. Like, well, I don't want to leave. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm telling you, I've seen this enough over 25 years that you are in the process of creating disease in your body. So we need to get you back in alignment with self. And I'll show you financially how to do it, how to bridge to this new place and this new life, so that you're not only avoiding the disease you're creating in your body, but you're not also going backwards financially to be able to do that. And where there's a will, there's a way. And you just have to decide in your mind that you're ready to take the jump and to believe in yourself. And once you're ready to do that and you choose to be empowered, all bets are off. You could do anything you want, and you can be happy and have what I call embodiment of real wealth at any place where you're at financially. Because to your point, I know people who make $40,000 a year and they have the best life. They are happy. They are living it because they're in 100% alignment with themselves. And I have people who have $10 million plus, and they are the most miserable people in this earth. So the money is not what creates sustainable happiness.
But also this system of debt that we are used to living in, right? I do believe that debt is like a noose around your neck. It really does hold you back, and it does hold you. It's like we're imprisoned by our debt. And so there's a lot of insecurity about the future that happens. There's a lot of mental health issues that come up because of this. How do you help somebody that is having a mental health crisis because of finances? How do you help somebody like that?
Yeah, we have to realize that our debt structure is a way that you're being controlled by the system. And if you don't choose to step out of the debt system, you're going to continue to have your life controlled by the banking system or the overall economic system overall. And so the only way to get through your mental health crisis is making tough choices and looking at, and this goes to the second step of the process I walk clients through, and also with my online course, is that the second step is you have to accept the reality that you've created. Now, from a mental health perspective, that may or may not be something that you really want to look at, but I am telling you, you looking at it and actually go and feeling the feelings behind that reality that you've created thus far actually is the healing process to it. And then it's about saying, okay, well, this is the dream that I want to dream. Here's my reality. I'm going to feel those feelings around that reality. Then we have to wake you back up in who you are and what you came to this planet to do, because that alignment with self actually helps you not only from a mental perspective, it helps you emotionally, helps you physically and spiritually. And that's your whole being. I call it like your fourfold being, that it's your mental health, your emotional health, physical health, and spiritual health. And all four of those are parts of who you are. And so when we're addressing like the debt issues and getting out of what I would call the matrix, getting out of the system and not choosing to not participate in financial jail any longer, then you're sitting going, okay, well, I'm going to play offense as opposed to defense. I'm going to create a game plan on how to do that. And depending on where your starting point is would depend on then what that process looks like. But from a generalization standpoint, it's about simultaneously cleaning up your past while also living in the present moment and planning for the future at the same time. You know, I saw Susie Orman years ago on Super Soul Sunday with Oprah, and she told this person who had $79,000 credit card debt, you're not allowed to do anything until you 100% pay off that credit card debt on 23 different credit cards. Who wants to feel that way for that long of a period of time? I don't know too many people do. So you have to not only clean that up, but also live today. So do the things that feed your heart and soul right now, but then also plant the seeds for what it is that you want to germinate for your tomorrow as well. That way you keep your nervous system in neutral, and then that helps your emotional and your mental health along the process. And I have found that that is the best way to do it so that people aren't skidding out on me.
Yeah, God, when you said that about $79,000 and they're not allowed to do anything, that just
It's like
created a little bit of like a panic for them, because
right.
this is how, I mean, I actually had a patient that tried to commit suicide because of how overwhelmed he was with his financial burdens. And that's the extreme end of what we're talking about here mentally and mental health wise.
Yep.
That people can feel so overwhelmed and nothing is worth financially is worth taking your life over. Thankfully, he survived and he ended up healing and working towards bringing his family and felt reconnected to everybody and started putting his life back together. And
that's great.
Realize that all of that can be taken care of. But like you said, the four areas, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, people don't understand the spiritual aspect of money. There are some people that have spiritual beliefs about money as well, but there is help. And so what are some specific strategies that you can give somebody that is in that crisis mindset right now so that they don't end up resorting to extreme measures and just feeling like they do have a shot at this and can get back on track?
Well, I think it's super important that you realize that it just starts with little things that you start to reward yourself along the way. I have many people that tell me going, Julie, you're telling me to spend my money? And I go, no, I want you to set up a bucket. And I want that to be like good behavior reward money of like, I don't even care if you start it with $10 a month or whatever. And it's just something that you can go take that money and spend it on anything you want so that it gives you some of that feeling of like, okay, I'm doing good. I'm getting on my journey. When you're in crisis mode, it is super important to really come to terms with the reality that you've created. And sometimes that's hard to see, but it's as easy as like, open up the envelopes. I have a couple worksheets on my website. You can go to juliemurphy.com. I have these free worksheets on there, and it helps you to map out where are your debts? What are those interest rates? It's about loving yourself enough to actually take a look. And then you say, okay, this is what I have, and this is what I can do things with, because the reality that you have is really actually the only thing you've got. So let's do the best you can with exactly what you have. No judgment, no shame, blame, guilt. It's just, it is what it is. And then we start to come up with a game plan. I also have a worksheet on there that you can download for free that helps you with your cash flows. Like just do something, say, you know what? These are my expenses that are going out the door, and this is the income coming in, and kind of going, that might be pretty sobering. But it's taking these itty bitty little steps that help you to start to get your foundation underneath you, because we got to get you out of the head and we have to get you into your body intelligence. And how we do that is that you just start to walk through the process of going, okay, here's my new dream. This is what I need. I want to go after. And then I'm going to look at my reality and I'm going to see where it's at. And then I think another step in the process is that I really want you to surround yourself with people who have done that. What it is that you want to create, surround yourself with those who have done it. I have my online community. That's the whole reason I built it, so that people can be around other people who are trying to shift their life and make something of it. Because the company you keep is so important. In my first book, The Emotion Behind Money, I talk about crabs in a bucket. And if you put one crab in a bucket, it can crawl out of that bucket by itself, no problem. But you put 10 crabs inside of a bucket, all those other crabs are trying to pull you back in. So the question is who are the crabs in your life? And don't spend time with those people. If you're trying to shift, don't be around the people who are going to enable the things that are keeping you stuck. So those are a few of the pointers that I have in terms of I've seen that are really successful with people over time.
And also when you're in crisis mode, you're only seeing the problem. You get tunnel vision, you start panicking, you start freaking out. You're not able to see the solution. But if you calm your system down and you take a deep breath and you calm yourself down, you can open the window to see, I have other options. There are things that I can do. And that's what sets somebody apart from that actually can take a situation and improve it versus going down because of a negative situation that's holding them back. And there are people that, just like you, didn't have any money growing up, but yet somehow they figured out how to improve their lives or make money. Nowadays with online, you don't even need the education. You don't even need to go to school to be able to make a lot of money. There's so many other options available for people. It's a matter of what they're willing to do.
Right. And then again, I say that you want to do something that's more behind your passion and your purpose, not just because it gives you a good paycheck, because a good paycheck will only last for so long and eventually you're going to burn out if it's not in alignment with you.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people go into debt, going to college, trying to get a degree, and then that degree is in like fine arts, like
right?
Right.
Well, and then that's where you start in your suffering patterns, because now you have this $140,000 of student loan debt you got to pay off. And that's like 20 years of your life paying that off. And so that also goes for younger people who are watching this, like going, there are more than one ways to design how to get your college education. You don't have to do it by selling your soul from a debt structure standpoint. There are more employers out there today that would rather you work with them right out of high school, and then they'll pay for your college education because they want you trained. They have done studies now that if they took someone who went to Yale or Harvard and brought them into a big consulting firm after they graduate college, it takes the same amount of training to mold them into who they want as it does an 18-year-old coming out of college and getting their degree as they work. It's the same number of years to mold them in terms of how the company wants them to work. So
there are jobs that people think that they look down on it, like plumbing or being an electrician, even being a garbage man. Those people make a lot of money, but people look down on it. And I'm like, it doesn't take that much education to go and become a plumber or an electrician. And you can probably start working in 9 to 12 months, but it's just a matter of choices people are making, right? I think these other jobs that people look down on that are actually so needed, like landscaping. Like somebody that's good at landscaping, how much in demand they are. Plumbing, electrician, HVAC, all of those people that can make a ton of money. So there's no excuses to be stuck in a job you don't like. Change jobs, do something.
Just do it because you love it.
Yeah.
You know, I had one gentleman, he was an executive with, back in the day, Lucent Technologies. When he retired, he was starting to get sick and he wasn't ready to retire because he was laid off in his mid-50s. And I said, you know what? All I've heard you all these years talk about is how you remodeled your house and you remodeled the coach house on your property and you remodeled the garage and there's a rental unit up. I go, you need to go like remodel places or something like that in your retirement, because this is where your passion is. You know, it wasn't building the technology stuff or Lucent Technology and pushing paper. And, you know, he's that old guy to this day. He's in his 80s. And he's that old guy. You walk into Menards and he knows every answer of how to fix everything in your house. And he loves it. He absolutely loves it because that's who he is. And I swear it's added years onto his life.
Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of people, I've seen it firsthand when I used to work in the school system, and these poor teachers, they work so hard. And as soon as they retire, within a year or two, they're dying because they really had no opportunity to enjoy that like once you retire, you're not fulfilled in the ways that you were when you're working. So a lot of people do end up just getting random jobs just to keep working. Not necessarily that they need the money, but that they're feeling useful. There's a purpose to what they're doing. Another thing I wanted to talk about spirituality wise is a lot of religions believe in charity and how that actually multiplies your money. what are your beliefs about charity and financial planning? Because some people feel like they have to go through life with both fists closed. I believe there has to be open to receive and to give. It's just the flow keeps going this way.
Yeah, to me,
that?
it's not an either or conversation. It's actually it's both. Like, right. So I'm a big believer that the more that you give, the more you get. But the problem is most people who give, they give at their cost because they're not also giving to themselves. And so they're actually paying a price for giving to others. And I think that's actually where most people's problems are, is that, so we got to remember, Einstein proved that everything in our world is energy. E equals MC squared. And so our money is energy. We as human beings are energy. Our words are energy. Our emotions are energy in motion. So when we start to realize that money is energy, and if you want to be abundant and you want to create more, well, hoarding it and holding on to it is actually blocking more from coming to you because you're not open to abundance, because you're probably hoarding it because you're triggering emotions of fear that there's not enough going to be around or there's not enough for everyone. And so you're holding it tight. And in that tightness, you're actually contracting your nervous system so that you can't actually manifest or attract anything that you desire or not ideal results. So I don't care if it's a charity or if it's your time, financially, your time or your money or whichever. If you're not opening the flows of giving and receiving, think of it like the figure eight. That's one of the reasons why I actually have a ring. That's the figure eight, to remind me that there is this balance, that the ideal place is that dot in between of that balance between giving and receiving and being open in that flow. Because, as much as we don't realize it, I don't care what country you're from, what color you are, what sex you are, we are all energetically tied. And when we start to realize that we as a humanity are only as strong as our weakest link, and we start to actually take that into account, then so many more things can happen in this world when we start to think from that perspective to get the whole energy grid to get brighter. And again, I'm not saying to do it at your cost, because there's the opposite side of this, is that I also believe the people who need the help and who are receiving the charity or the aid, they need to have skin in the game. We've got some systems that are seriously broke in this country because they become lifestyles of the welfare system. And I don't think that's okay either. Everyone's got to be a part of the solution, and that we have skin in the game, but we do need a balance between that giving and receiving. So like even on the emotional front, if you're a narcissist, you're a taker. Like you love to take. So you're going to surround yourself with a giver. You're going to surround, or is like one of the therapists that I know, he calls it self-love deficit disorder when you're attracting narcissists, because you're a huge giver and they're a huge taker. And you got to make sure that you're also giving and loving yourself enough as much as you are to everybody else, because you're important as well. And so many times we sacrifice that.
Well, that was well said. Exactly. I mean, within limits, obviously, you don't want to end up taking food from your kids and giving it away to somebody, and at the cost of your own family's health and well-being. But at the same time, giving, whenever we give anything, like even the Christmas gifts, we feel better giving than receiving gifts. It makes us feel good. It's about it's an energy exchange.
Right.
When I give something to you, I'm doing it with so much love, and then your appreciation is love coming back at me, and that makes us, have that exchange. And so for that reason, we do win in the end by giving. But at the same time, the hoarding part, that's what a lot of people have, a lack mindset, and they feel like I can't even give a penny away because then I won't have enough. Right. And when you have an abundance mindset, there's always enough.
Right. That's true. There always is. And it's our fear, so our lower vibrating emotions, that makes it that there isn't enough, or we have the fear that there won't be. We have to remember that these stories that we tell ourselves in our head become our reality. And when you start to realize going, oh, is this my belief system and this is my story? Well, then there's your outcome, because you are creating the outcome of the story that you tell yourself in your head over and over again.
Yeah, there's so much involved with just finances alone. I mean, we could have this conversation.
And it's about just design the life that you really want to create. And I don't care what age or what your financial circumstance is today. I guarantee you can create anything that you desire from this point forward. You just have to align to yourself.
It's about getting aligned. I do mention that in all aspects of our mental health and well-being, whatever we say and do, we should be aligned with it. When we're
Mhm.
aligned with what we're doing and what we're saying, whether it's about money, whether it's about our relationships, whether it's about the jobs we're doing, when we're aligned, then everything is great. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. But when we're not aligned, then it's just hard work. We
Right.
have a hard time getting up in the morning to go to work. We have a hard time being around the people we don't want to be around because we're not aligned. So focusing on that. Um, well, this was a great conversation. Can you tell us a little bit about where people can find you and learn more about you and talk about your
Absolutely.
book?
Yeah, absolutely. You can certainly join me at juliemurphy.com. I have an online course that it's called Impact. Impact Your Life Now. And it's a 6-week course where you get me live twice a week and also all these assignments and downloads. And I think there's like 54 video lessons that I've done throughout the course. Also, I have 3 books that I've written. The first one is The Emotion Behind Money, Building Wealth from the Inside Out. Awaken Your Wealth, which you can see Awaken Your Wealth behind me, as well as Your 4 Spiritual Laws of Money. Those can all be found on Amazon. And certainly I'm on YouTube, Julie Murphy, Awaken with Julie on Instagram, and also Facebook, my author page under Julie Murphy. And so lots of places to reach me. And it's all about, for some reason I chose as my soul, I want to help financially heal the world. And so I'm creating platforms to be able to do that so that everyone can feel a little bit more freedom in their life.
Yes, it's a great topic to address because there is a lot of financial insecurity and instability, and there is a lot of people struggling right now. And it's a mindset thing. It's not about lack. It's not about what's happening outside of us. It's about working on building our mind and our mindset, and as well as connecting our hearts energetically to attracting more abundance in every way, not just financially in our lives.
100%. Totally agree.
Yeah. So,
and you know what? It's about loving yourself. Love yourself enough to create the financial reality that you desire.
So many people feel unworthy of it. And it's just, I wish that there was a magic wand that we can just say, you are worthy.
Well, and how I actually work people through that in an exercise, I have them walk around and I just say, I am worthy. I am worthy. I am worthy. When you verbally say that out loud, eventually what you're going to do is you're going to trigger the part inside of your system that feels unworthy. And those emotions are going to come up and you'll probably feel a lump in your throat and keep saying, I am worthy. I am worthy. And eventually then it's going to be a safe enough container that those feelings would come out. And then you're building the muscle to actually feel more worthiness of self.
That's a great way to end this. Yes, that's a great exercise to focus on. Well, thank you so much for being here and having this conversation with me.
Well, I am so grateful to be here because you're helping me do the thing that I am passionate about, helping more people get to financial freedom.
It's an important topic for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow. I didn't think there was much to talk about when it came to finances, but Julie and I could have literally talked all day about this topic because money and finances literally is intertwined in every fabric of our lives and in every area of our lives. We are impacted by money and our finances with our families, with our career choices, with our recreational and vacation choices. And so it impacts everything. And it's so important to work on our mindset when it comes to our finances. There's a lot of mental health therapy that she has to do to help her clients with their money mindset and with their financial planning. And when you're making decisions about your future, be mindful about how can I make my finances reflect the kind of life that I want to have. So this was a really inspiring conversation for me because it does impact us. And I want you to kind of be mindful that in the coming weeks and months, as we're hearing more and more about the economy and about just the instability that creates, hearing about that for us, focus on the reactions you're having inside of you and what emotions are coming up for you. And I want you to journal about that. Journal about what's coming up and then write a goal for yourself. For the new year, write goals in the areas of how do you want to improve yourself and how do you want to improve your life financially? What are some areas that you would like to see more abundance in? Are there side jobs that you can do that can increase the finances in your life, that can bring in more money into your life? Are there ways that you can reduce your excessive spending so you can have more money for the things that you actually want to have? Are there ways that you can allocate some money towards a saving plan so that you can have a rainy day fund, or you can have more money 5 years from now, 10 years from now? So these are some things for you to think about and for you to start being more mindful about. If you want to learn more about Julie and the work that she's doing, you can go to drsicandri.com/podcast. Please share your comments below and let us know what you thought about the episode and what changes you will incorporate in your life for the coming months about planning your financial security in the future. Please be sure to follow us and give us a 5-star review so that other people can find this podcast. Until next time.